You there? I don't have Stephanie to tell me. Oh, she's here today. She's usually telling me to remember to record. All right, am I recorded? Yes. That was Zoom windows. All right, so what we're dealing right now here is with the data. And all the data goes through templates, and that becomes all the headless stuff, websites, app, and API. I just need you to hang on to that. It's like this idea, because this is how we're seeing it right now, right? We have data, which is pushing it through Gatsby, and Gatsby is built on React. And if it feels like alphabet soup, just like terms and all these things, I just need to get used to it. Like you gotta get used to this, because I can guarantee you that what you're gonna be using a couple years from now is gonna be completely different, right? Guarantee. Okay. But conceptually, it's all the same. Conceptually, we've been trying to do the same thing. We have an external data source that we run through some templates and it outputs something. Like that hasn't changed, right? It's going to take a fundamental shift for that to go away. And today we're going to be looking at this, right? This idea of, right, you have an API, you have an external source anywhere. And what you learned in last class, right, was you can be your own API. You can be your own SoundCloud. You can be your own YouTube. Like you can be a source. Your website is a source for yourself. And that is awesome. I can't tell you how empowering that is. Okay. And so we're going to have an API. We're going to push this to the JSX. JSX is just is the templating language inside of React, right? And again, this is what I want you to understand is like, look, you should be able to work with any API or be your own API. You should be able to learn any templating language. Okay? And that's a really powerful thing. Yeah. So big picture, this is how I want you to start seeing this. All right, let's go ahead and get right into this. Oh, so much. There's all the React.js fundamentals. We can get rid of that for just a second. Move that over. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at JSON for a second. Okay. So last class we looked at how to use and create easily manage data with Dado, right? And Dado is a CMS. And a lot of these CMSs, and if I take a look at this real fast, they're trying to do everything, right? And that's okay, right? But what we're seeing right now, especially with all the stuff that is happening with the pandemic, is we need a better way to not let stuff break down. Like if one layer breaks, the whole thing shouldn't break, right? And that's why this idea of being headless is becoming more and more important. So hang on to that idea. That's a really important thing. As for the technology stack, it's always going to change. It's always going to get easier. It's always going to get harder. And but what we're trying to do with this stuff, right? We're still trying to achieve the same human needs. And this is where UX3 and Web3 to me essentially really are the same class. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead now and take a look at JSON. Right, you know JSON from your Learn JavaScript Online, right? When some of you, we finish that, got this idea of, right, all the good stuff happens inside a curly brace. This is all from your Web 2 class. Okay. And what I wanted to take a look at right now is when you have JSON somewhere else, how do you get to it? And one of my favorite things about Web3 is we really get to dive a little bit deeper into APIs. There are a ton of public API listings. And I really encourage you to explore all the APIs. And so whatever thing you like, right? So let's take, I don't know, say you're into games and comics. There's a popular one called Star Wars. Star Wars. Where is it? All right. Look, there's one for Halo, right? Basically, there's all this data that's being pushed out from another source. And what you can do, like the Pokemon one, okay, this is one we've also used in class, is it all comes out as data that you can pull into your applications. So if you're copying and pasting the names of all the 23 million Pokemon characters, right, there's a better way to do this. We want to be able to automate that. Okay. All right, so I encourage you to take a look at this listing, right? There's a lot of good ones here, like where is the Star Wars API? Hopefully Lucasfilms didn't shut it down. Oh, good. Yep, here it is right here. Okay. And all that stuff comes out as as one big JSON byte that you can filter through. All right, so now that we have that, what I want you to do is let's take a look at inside of, I want you to go to lorem.pixum, or is it pixum.lorem? Pixum.photos. They keep changing their name on me. All right, pixum.photos. Let's go to pixum.photos for a second. So we've used these placeholders on our websites, right? It's a great place for a public placeholder. And part of the reason we use this because I kind of get you introduced to an API. So if we take this URL of pixum.photos and we change the URL strings for just a second and we select 200, we're going to get a square image that's 200, right? And notice what it did to the URL string. It completely changed it. So we're going to do that same thing again. You can go back, okay, and we go pixum.photos slash 400, and we're going to get a 400 size image. And that's all well and good, but there's a lot more information from this. So if we scroll on down, and this is all the stuff we didn't do. Heck, remember this for how we can make a grayscale image. So one designer is gonna take the color photo. So here, I'm gonna take this photo right here. Don't be this designer. One designer is gonna say, "Ooh, I want this picture right here." Okay, bring it into Figma or Photoshop, make it grayscale and then just keep making adjustments to it. The other designer is going to go, I'm just going to use the API here, right? And be able to just say grayscale and give me that exact same image, right? Grayscaled. And so, well, that was a random image, but you get the point is what you're adding to the end of the URL string. All right, we saw this last class, right? What is this called? Right away from last class? Starts with a Q. When you're asking for something, like I'm asking for what the name of this thing is called. Query string, right? We're querying the string, okay? And so we're not just asking for one specific thing, right? Thank you, Evan. Well, we're taking a look now down at the very, very bottom, and they're like, look, you can have the entire API. What? You can give me all the images that exist inside of your database? You're basically saying, give me all of your content, and I can output this out? Yes. Let that sink in. Yes. Okay. All right, let's go ahead now. What I want you to do is I'm going to find that public string. Just 1 second. Oh, this is where I put it. So what I want you to do is just open a brand new tab. Okay. Open a brand new tab. And let's just walk through what they call, we're going to just walk through this API. And if you can walk through an API, right, or traverse it, right, this is the first place to start. Before you do anything with anybody's API, Pokemon, Star Wars, the weather, right, those are all public APIs, right, is just walk through it. And right there, what you saw was the raw API, and I'm going to go and click on the raw. That's the entire JSON package being sent back. That's all the stuff. Yeah. And so inside of Firefox, right, Firefox gives you a nice human readable view of this. And that is the first object in the second, third, so on and so on. And all neatly wrapped. And inside of that, there's an ID attached to each one of the entries, right? The author's name, the person who shot the photo, the size of the photo, right? A link to the photo, and the URL where you can download the photo from. Okay. Well, not that one in particular. I always pick the ones that are broken. How about this one? Right. Okay, so here is the URL where the image is from. Here is the actual image itself. Okay, all right, so first designer, I'm gonna go to this website. I'm gonna put on my headphones and I'm going to manually download every single one of these images and upload them. The other designer says, I'm sure there's an API for this. All right. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to walk you through a really simple example, right? We're going to have a fully completed example, and then we're going to add to it, and then we're going to start taking apart how React actually works. Okay. So what I need you to do right now is go to, from the course side, I want you to go to React.js. Okay. And there's a Pixum Photos API with React.js. And this is a fully functional, completed example, right? And what I need you to do is get used to all the stuff from the framework that's already there. What you're saying is, I don't know what React.component is. I don't know what component data mount. Like, yes, you don't. That's all React stuff. So the whole point of this is, without these tools, this stuff gets, I'm tapping on my desk here. It's a little bit more work. It's actually a whole lot of work. And so you have all these frameworks like React. They're basically saying we're all doing the same things. Why are we reinventing the wheel every single time, right? So what I want you to do right now is go into line 12, right? So go ahead and fork this pen. I'm actually going to go ahead and fork this pen. Okay. Let's go ahead and fork this pen, and let's go into line 12. And line 12 right there, it says, fetch this API. Okay, I don't want you to worry about anything else. Okay, one of the things since Web 2 is we've gotten used, just like GreenSock, we've gotten used to working with stuff that we didn't write. Since Web 1, right? We used normalize.css. You didn't write normalize, but you still used it. Okay, same thing here. So that right there is our source on line 12. That same source that we just looked at. Right? Any questions on that part? Throw up a thumbs. Great. So it's saying go get all this stuff, and that's what we don't need to worry about. So we're gonna go ahead and collapse the app. Okay. We're gonna collapse the component. So go get that stuff, and that's what we need to do. So the first thing says is we understand conditionals. If there's an error, throw an error. So basically, if the internet is slow, right, your page is gonna pop up an error that says, "Hey, I can't load the API," right? Or Lorem Pixum, it's down for whatever reason, and that's fine, right? If it's slow, right, else this, do you understand this, right? Throw up a loading thing, like let the user know, this is good feedback, by the way, let the user know that your app is still loading. And if everything is good, do this. And what I have highlighted right here, this right here, this is all of React, right? And this is JSX in particular. So what we have here, and so what I want you to do is, I'm just go ahead and just comment that everything in that return statement out for a second. And if we take a look at the HTML, in the HTML panel, it says, basically says, look, if this app fails, let the user know, right? One, they need to turn on JavaScript or use a browser that supports this, right? Or just throw up a GIF, right? Basically, this is essentially a 404. And so what we want to do is everything in this return statement is just HTML, right? Like you can make just come into here, have the line commented out. You can just make a paragraph. Whoops. Right. It says hi. And you just congratulations, like you're making an app. Like that thing's gonna say hi, and that's gonna be your return statement. And so what we want to be able to do here is understand all this new syntax. So right now we have an unordered list. Okay. And if we save this for a second and open this thing up in a new tab, in a debug tab, and go ahead and take a look at our console, there's that massive array. So the Lorem Pixum API is only going to give us the first 30 because it's really expensive to serve up content. Thank you, Dado CMS. You've charged me nothing, and you're going to serve up not only content, but you're going to serve up my content. That is awesome. Right? So Dado, Lorem Pixum, the Pokemon API, like it takes work and energy and money to serve up this content. And so it's given us the first 30, right? And like most APIs, okay, like Twitter's or Instagram, if you want more of it, you got to pay for it. But anyway, so inside of this, right, everything is being outputted. Okay? Everything is being outputted in this variable here called items. Right? We're storing all the stuff inside of items. And then we're saying, I want you to go ahead and map through the items. Basically, this is looping through. Because notice on our page, we have 30 LIs, but how many times did we write LI? And some of you are thinking, yeah, we can see that there's only one. I'm gonna sit on this point for a second. Think about this for a second. There are 30 different sets of data. We wrote an LI one time, and it's going through and it's looping through. We know loops from Web 2. It's going through and says, well, If there's only 30, I'm going to show 30. If there's only 3, I'm going to show 3. If there are 30,000, I'm going to show 30,000. You as a designer wrote li how many times? Just once. Just once. Okay. So if we take a look at this, we have an object here called item. Okay. Like just let that sink in for a second. We basically have templated this. We've templated this. And so we have something called items. Inside of it is something singular called item. And we take a look at the first one, right? It's item.id. Well, let's take a look at this. What's the ID here? ID of 1, ID of 10. And if we wanted to output this, let's go ahead and take this, and we can actually even output this. Go ahead and paste that, right? So curly braces, okay, that, and we can see that the curly braces are similar to our object literals from Web 2, right? Our template literals from Web 2. But in JSX, right, JavaScript as XML, okay, this is the templating language. Notice it's outputting the ID there, and we can even put an extra space in there. Look at how fast that is. It's running out to Lorem Pixum, fetching the data, right, and putting it onto the page. What I need you to do right now as I pace back and forth is I want the URL to the actual image. So what we're grabbing here is we're grabbing this key of ID. Then we're grabbing the name of the author right there. Okay, so we're storing this thing as item, right? And we're going to the ID of the key of author, and we're getting this value. We're going this ID. And I want you to take a look at your console and tell me which one, what is the name of the key that gives me the image? Right. I need someone to tell me which key gives me the image to put onto the page.
Download URL. That looks like the URL.
Right, good way to do this is, right, so Ben says download URL. I'm gonna command click on this URL. Is this giving me a singular image without the other stuff?
No, maybe, no.
So what do we want, Ben? Yeah. This one or this one?
That one.
Right, Ben's right. So, so why would I ask him a question if I know he's right? Because I need us to understand the difference between these two, right? One's like the URL to the page that might have all the user info and the search. This one's just the image, right? And so thanks, Ben. So we want download _ URL. So Ben, if I wanted to access, so I'm gonna get rid of this for a second, right? I'm gonna comment that out. Okay, I'm just going to delete that for a second. Okay. How do I put an image on a page, Ben?
Like with image tag, or do you mean like
there you go, image tag? Colin, why are you asking such dumb questions? Because I want you to see how much you already know about this. Okay. All right. So what are we gonna do here?
Can you do item dot URL download thing?
Perfect. But I am computer. I need more syntax. What am I putting here?
Quotes or the parentheses, right?
Curly brace.
Oh, braces.
Are item braces? This is the syntax, download _ URL. All right, paste that in. So you can hit save, and this is going to bring in the full size image, and they're going to be massive. And look, there you go. You have huge, thanks, Ben. Right, you have this huge, massive, unordered list. It's like, well, we know how to fix this. li, img. This is where the CSS comes into play. We're going to give this thing a width now of, I don't know, 25% so it'll fit on the screen. There you go. You made an automated thumbnails. Those could be your thumbnails from Data of CMS, right? Those could be thumbnails from the Pokemon API. Like, you can begin to start making applications because you can get data from anywhere. Right? You can hook into your Amazon account, right, and make yourself your own like running page. Okay. I think I'm being extra loud. Am I louder today than normal? No.
No.
Y'all just turn me down anyway. All right. We good on this part?
Is it just because of like the language we're using for the brackets? I feel like we haven't used the curly braces before in JavaScript, so I didn't know.
We haven't. It's JSX. We'll get into JSX.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Right. What we're doing right now is we're learning templating languages via JSX that exists inside of React.js. Boy, that's a mouthful. One more time. We're learning a templating language called JSX that exists inside of React.js. You're going to go work somewhere and they're going to go, well, React is fine, but we use Angular. You're going to be like, okay, what's the syntax for Angular? I know how to template. And this is what I want us to understand. Like you get more of this thing you might realize. And if you want to put the author's name in there, right? Let's go ahead and drop in the author's name, curly brace. So item is the name of the object. And inside of that, we want an individual key called author, right? And I'll put the author's name next to the image, right? So, and then we can flex box this and make this all fancy if we wanted to. All right. We're diving straight into this because I want us to understand it and see its potential. All right. Thumbs up. We're good so far with me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. I'm going to close that up. So there's an API for everything, and I want you to get excited about APIs. All right. In your own time, you're going to watch this 4-minute video about what React is and why it was created. Like, why on earth did Facebook use this? Right. I am not I just had my arm twisted to create an Instagram account, which is owned by Facebook. And now I have an Instagram account. Right. Find me on Insta, apparently.
I'll DM you.
I think I know what that is, but talk about it at the end of class. All right. So I'm strongly opposed. I'm a staunch no Facebook person. So why do I use React, which is created by Facebook? Because it's that good, right? It's also open source and it's only made by the people. So this is a great 4-minute video about like, why on earth are we doing this, right? It's a lot of way React solves the problem. The other thing that React does is it makes our shadow DOM, right? And we know this. Oh, look, this example right here, right, is shadow DOM, right? Because if we inspect this element that we're playing, is like, we didn't write any of this. This right here, this is all of the stuff that is written for us. And as we saw in Web 2 when we made our video player, like, we have an understanding of the shadow DOM. Thumbs up. Yes, Colin covered the shadow DOM, and we talked a lot about it in class. Okay, good. All right, we didn't write any of this. We didn't write this iframe, but this is all part of the shadow DOM. And React is saying, well, can't we make our own shadow DOM elements? Yes, we can. So I don't want to get into the nerd fight about, like, Colin's teaching you React, but Angular is my favorite and Vue is my favorite. And there's a lot of them. And what you want to be able to say is, look, I understand a front end framework. And it happens to be, I learned it through React. And if you happen to be using another one, that's all well and good too. Again, refer to your documentation. Past classes, we've used this one right here. This is a great tutorial. It's really, really long. But past Web3 classes, this was our textbook, and they just redesigned it. So, if you like this stuff, there's a whole mess of information on it. Okay, so we're done with the overview, right? Hopefully, by using React, you'll see why it exists. All right, let's go ahead and get into JSX now. All right, so from here, let's get into the Master Professor pen and begin breaking this down. We are running behind. All right, let's get into the Web3 pen, and let's get this started from scratch.
What do you think you could just do like a summary of what Shadow DOM is again? Like,
yeah, so if I go to YouTube here, YouTube's the best one. Here, the JavaScript Survival Guide. Oh, look, another commercial basically saying, don't learn any of the stuff Colin's trying to teach you. Just give us $14.95 a month and we'll take care of it all, which is all well and good. let's go ahead and so Ben, I'm gonna grab this embed code, right? I'm gonna paste it right in the master professor pin. Check.
Sweet.
Right, and it plays this video. You'll see that, right? And the only element here is iframe. That's it. One singular element called iframe. Where did the play button come from?
iframe.
No, Shadow DOM.
Oh.
Right. Where did the volume button come from? Where did any of this come from? That's all the Shadow DOM. If we inspect it, there's a whole mess of elements that needed to be made, right? But we didn't make them. See everything in gray right here? That's all the Shadow DOM. Good. That's all the stuff that something else is writing. Okay. But in our HTML, you have one singular iframe right there. There's your abridged version. All right. So JavaScript as an XML, right? It's, again, we can get in a nerd fight about like my templating language is better than your templating language. I don't care. Okay. We just want to get into can you template? Okay. I have templating languages coming out of my ears. Like I just, I'll take a project on. I was like, what do you guys use? What are y'all using to make your things? Oh yeah. Give me some time to understand this. Okay. Each one has to loop. Each one has to take in variables. Each one has to pull in data. Right. And there's more similar, like I've been saying these past few classes, there's more similar between all these technologies than there are different. All right, so one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to use plain old basic HTML, right? Then our CSS is to style it all. And then inside of here, let's go on and turn on Babel. We're turning on Babel because Babel lets us write new JavaScript now. Okay, again, Babel is going to take our new JavaScript and convert it into old JavaScript so older browsers can run it. And that's just part of our build process. So hit save on this. Remind me to talk about the command line again. I'll make a note up here. I have a note in front of me. It says command line. All right. Note to self.
Colin, do you still use Flex or no? Is that outdated?
Flexbox?
Yeah.
Flexbox is great. Keep using Flexbox. All right. So there's JS, there's Babel. Okay. And what we want is we're going to load in two things. Okay? And the first one is React, the React core itself. And there it is right there. So we have to load two things. We have to load the React core and the React DOM. So the React core is the base in which you can do VR for Professor Massengale's class. You can also use it as a base to make native applications to run on iOS and Android. Like React is a really nice framework. All right, so there's our React core, and that's the first thing that gets loaded there. On top of that, right, is the React DOM, right? And this makes all the DOM elements. This makes all the shadow DOM elements that we need, right? Basically, just to make that list item, make that paragraph, make that image element, and that's what React DOM is doing. And why React core can't do both defeats the purpose and the flexibility of React. Yes, we can cram everything into one like we've been doing for so many years, right? Or we can keep them all separate and have them be good at their own individual things, right? Again, why do you need Photoshop when you can do that same thing in Illustrator and vice versa, right? Go ahead, explain to a non-designer why Illustrator needs to exist.
I'll kill
you. You're like, well, what's that?
I don't. Photoshop and Illustrator can do everything, but one is much better at one thing,
Right.
and one is much better at one.
All right. Good. Alex, you there? All right. Have you ever, why don't you use Photoshop for page layout? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I've tried using it for posters before, and it's just very slow and irritating to use when you're making shapes and doing text and lining stuff up. You can't do like tabs and ruler markings and stuff. I mean, you can do a lot of it, but it's not built for that. It's slower and irritating.
Different applications are made for different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's a great explanation. Okay. So, We good? That's the shortest explanation. Okay, and I think that analogy works really well here. All right, so we've put that into there. Okay, so we have our React, and so just in our comments here, there is React core, right? Command // that's going to be our React DOM, and for the web, those are the two we need right now. Okay, so one is the DOM and one is the core. All right. Now we got those two things. And so we're done with React setup. And there it is right there. A good thing to do is to go ahead and turn this into a template pen. Okay. Easiest way to do that is to go into settings and go to template and turn this on and say make into React template if you like. Otherwise, you're going to have to do this every single time. A common problem that we have is Colin, it's not working. Like, did you load in all the necessary files? So strongly recommended, make a template from it. All right. So there's that. All right, the next thing we need to do is get this all set up. All right. Easy one. First off, we're gonna make something, all right, I'm just gonna copy and paste this in. And it's the same one that we've used in the past. And if you have a different emoji that you would like to use, let me know. We need an emoji to put in there. All right, if you hit Control Command Option, I just learned this, you can bring up your emoji picker. Give me an emoji for a fallback, like if it doesn't work.
The crying emoji.
No, do the cowboy emoji.
Yeah, do that one.
Okay, cow. All right, good. All right, so cowboy emoji will only show up. This will only say, like, please enable React. You can put whatever message in here. You can put an animated GIF. All right, we need to be aware that this is just the fallback, right? This stuff will not show up. What's going to happen with React is React's going to come in, right, and take this ID of div app, right? So Ben, here's that shadow DOM. It's going to replace that element. It's going to replace this ID of app that you wrote with whatever is inside of the JavaScript down here. Okay. And so all that said, we can close this up. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and start writing some React. So an easy one. So the first place to get started here is I want you to actually. All right, go to React DOM render. So first off, we're going to turn on React. All right, big React DOM render says, and that's the object inside there. We can even hit save on that. And notice we're not getting any errors here. So pin this tab. Okay. All right, so that's the React core. But what we want to do to put elements on the page is React DOM. Okay. You can even stop right there. Okay. So inside of that, there is a render method. Okay. And so .render. And this is something you're going to be typing a whole lot. Okay. And a good way to look about this is what and where. Right. That's just asking, well, where do you want me to, what do you want me to put on the screen and where do you want me to put it? Right. And that is the most abridged short version of React render, the DOM render I can give you. Okay. Like what and where. Okay. So let's answer the what and the where. All right. The first answer is the what. Now, the thing here is we only have one element in here. Okay. And the first thing that the little catch-22 is React is everything has to come out as one element, one unit. It has to come out as one piece of information, right? Then it can be a parent with multiple things, right? With multiple children, but it has to be encapsulated as one parent. Okay? And that's one of the first things that trips everybody up is they just want to make it do something that it can't do. And there's good reasons for that, which we'll discuss. But the first one, let's go make a simple H1. Okay, like my example is hello world. Kind of tired of that one. Go ahead, put your name. Kind of tired of putting my name here. React is cool. Let's get an emoji. It's only taken me 10 years to get on the emoji train. All right, so notice it's still not showing up. We told it what? We didn't answer what was the other question? The what and the where. So
Or,
where, right? So put this up. What do you want me to put on the screen? This, right? Where? Well, where's the only place that we can put our app right now? This ID of app. And to do that, we're going to use our simple JavaScript, just plain old JavaScript document. And we got get element by ID. I always do this wrong. Is it lowercase e or capital E? Capital E by ID, lowercase d. Right. JavaScript 101, no semicolon on that. And what is the name of our application app? That's all we did with Lorem Pixum at the beginning of class. That's all we did. But what was all that other code in there? The other code was to go and fetch it. The other code was to loop through the stuff. Okay. This is going to be at the bottom of most of your applications. Like finally put this on the page. Up at the very top, go get all the stuff. Down at the bottom, put this on the page where. Okay. So before I move on, any questions on this part? Put this on the page where, and that's what React Render is doing. That's what the render method is doing for us. Check, check. Right? With me? I love this stuff. All right. Again, let's say I wanted to put a paragraph after my H1. Watch me get through it. It's going to throw an error. It's like, nope, can't do this. It just flat out won't if you hit save. And we take a look at the actual DOM itself. Okay. In the console, it's going to be like, no, you can't do that. Okay. Come on. That's why it's not showing up. So what we want to do is, they didn't save. CodePen's been really slow today, right? If we wanted to actually have this show up, if we wanted to say like, how cool, right? What do I need to do to these two elements if I wanted to get this to show up on the page? Wrap it inside of a single element, right? Okay. We good there? This is the core stuff. And I'm hoping at the beginning class you can see, wow, you can really do a whole lot with this, with just this little simple example. All right, so we got that. Last thing I want to do is make sure, right, that we can actually see how data is being passed into React, and that should cover it for today. Okay. All right, JSX, pass data into JSX. Okay, so we got this React element, and up at the very top, we're going to store our name. Okay. So let me make this easier. How easy do I want to make this? All right, we gonna have a placeholder here. So on our first example, our placeholder was a unordered list. Okay, and does everybody see why the unordered list worked as a single element? Because UL is the parent. You can have multiple list items inside of a single UL parent. Okay, now this spacing I'm giving right here is not normal. Okay, I'm just doing this for today's lecture so you can kind of see what's happening here. All right, so this is first name, last name, first and last. Check. Okay, so the what, this is what to put out, and this is where to put it. Okay. And so up here, we're gonna actually store student names. And so where this gets programmatic is somewhere in some database and some spreadsheet somewhere is the number of students in this class. And if I want to output everyone in this class, I'm not going to copy and paste that. I'm going to say, go get that and update it as students or get added and removed from the class. And that's what we need to be able to do as designers. And if in your UX3, it's that same thing. You're working on your UX portfolio, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let you copy and paste and put into it. Your UX portfolio should be pulling in live data from somewhere else, right? What happens if Figma goes away? You still should have that content, okay? So also for your clients too, right? You want your clients to go into Dado and update the content themselves. All right, we're gonna have a variable here called name. So that is probably good because name const is good too, I guess. Your name's unlikely to change for the most part, or not gonna change very frequently. Okay. All right, we're gonna store that value. Let's store it. Give me a name.
Nemo.
Nemo? Does Nemo have a last name? Nemo fish, there we go.
McClown.
Really? All right, Nemo McClown. I just learned something. Nemo McClown's his name. All right, how do we get put that onto the page? This should be a variable, right? That first last is our default, right? That's our default. And what we want to be able to do, okay, is pass in that name, right? So good way to do this, as I take a look at my own code here, is put some curly braces in, right? What is the name of the variable that we're passing in, right? And there are those curly braces I was asked about earlier. Okay. And the reason that we're not putting items.name is because that doesn't exist. Right now we just have name, like it's throwing an error saying, I don't know what items is. Okay. And so we're gonna have this this element here called name. Okay. But to pass it in, what we want to be able to do here is actually use this. So we can't just write class, and we're looking at this example because I'm trying to get you thinking in the React way. And just like any JavaScript element, right? We can't use class because class is reserved in JavaScript, right? We have that object called a class, and so we have to use class name. And what we're doing is we're passing in, right, this name. Okay? So up inside of here, our whole app is going to run. Okay? And we can style this name any way we like. Okay? We get that. Yeah. But down in here, we're going to take this name, right, and shoot it. If you can kind of follow my cursor, shoot this right into here. Okay? By running this. Okay? And notice what happens here when I change your name. Right? I guess we're using Nemo. Is everybody clear on that? And this small example here is exactly what we're doing with React. Okay. So we're gonna pass this thing in as your name. I need to change that back, right? And the reason I'm putting in this class name of name is I want us to see the difference between, one more time, you're over the summer, you're gonna miss this from me. Ready? Name the attribute, name the element. In this case, it's name the class. Okay, and like I was telling Web 1 this morning, it's like, don't memorize. I mean, Web 2 this morning, don't memorize stuff. See it in context. The word cool means something different in different contexts. All right. Jackie, what does drip mean? We just learned. What does drip mean, y'all? I shouldn't ask any particular person.
Like if you have jewelry on or something,
Mm-hmm.
you're like dripping in ice.
Perfect, right? So in the club, drip means something else, right? To a plumber, drip means something. It's all those words in context. Same thing here, right? That's why I'm showing this example of name. So FZ 3M. I also like learning. Okay. Was that great saying? I hate studying. Studying is so boring. Studying. Learning is fun. And I'm hoping that we'd see this as learning instead of just like rote memorization. Okay, and that's why I put this example in there, because I want us to see the difference between name the variable, name the class, right? Name as a part of the attribute class name, right? Okay, and name is JSX. And then this little simple example, right? I think it's a nice slow introduction into React.js. And that should do it for today. Any questions? I'm gonna